se puede ver interrumpida la forma de entrega del medicamento en ventilación mecánica debido a la unidad térmica por temperatura y humedad.
Sí, es algo que puede suceder. Entonces es algo que sí tenemos que estar al pendiente y tener una alternativa, porque sí llega a suceder.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, doctor Castañeda. La siguiente pregunta es para el doctor Nicholas Hill. Muy bien, la traducción, vamos a hacer la pregunta en español y el doctor va a usar el traductor, por favor.
Can you hear her, Nick? Can you hear her?
¿Me escucha?
Is it turned on? Turn the little button at the top, and then the volume is on the right side.
Yes. Very well.
Muy bien, doctor Hill, ¿qué intervenciones terapéuticas han demostrado reducción de mortalidad en falla cardíaca derecha?
So the question is, what therapeutic interventions have been shown to improve mortality in patients with right heart failure in the ICU? So if we're talking about patients with acute right heart failure, the answer is not very scientific, because we don't have the kinds of clinical trials that would be necessary to make a definitive statement. Nonetheless, there are interventions that clearly are salvaging patients who otherwise would die. So we have patients with acute pulmonary embolism and right heart failure who are in life-threatening situations, who respond favorably to a variety of lytic therapies. So this is more on an individual patient basis. And the larger studies that have been done on massive pulmonary embolism have been challenged in showing mortality benefits in large populations of patients. And the same is true of the use of extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, or ECMO. We can come up with individual patients who clearly would have died without the intervention, but because we're just starting to use this technology, it's under development, there are a number of different approaches that can be used. We don't have large, appropriately designed trials to prove a mortality benefit in a population. Now, when we move on from there to our approaches to manage fluid volume, use of vasopressors, use of inotropes, we really have no good evidence to say that we're saving lives. Once again, there are patients who get salvaged, but it's possible we're doing harm in other patients. And we really do need more study, cleverly designed populations that can be, or cleverly designed trials that can be targeted at smaller populations to come up with better information on how we're doing with these approaches.
Muchas gracias. Y la última pregunta es para el doctor Hess. ¿Cuál sería la forma correcta de instalar un dispositivo de dosis medida en ventilación mecánica? Dispositivo de dosis medida, MDI.
So if I understand the question correctly, it is how to best use a meter dose inhaler during mechanical ventilation. So so first of all, should use a chamber device rather than a device without a chamber. There are a number of devices that are commercially available that you can place into the ventilator circuit that you can attach the meter dose inhaler, but the best device is one with a chamber. And there have been a number of studies published probably 20 years ago saying that the chamber device is the best. Secondly, it is important to actuate the meter dose inhaler at the very onset of inspiration. So there were some that have advocated in the past actuating the meter dose inhaler during exhalation with the belief that the aerosol would then be in the chamber and delivered to the patient on the subsequent inhalation. The problem with that technique in modern ventilators is that almost all modern ventilators have a bias flow through the ventilator circuit during exhalation. So if you actuate the inhaler during exhalation, the bias flow will just sweep the aerosol away and it won't be available for the patient on the subsequent inhalation. 4 actuations of the meter dose inhaler is probably sufficient for most patients. Now I'm talking about the delivery of a short-acting beta agonist like albuterol. 4 actuations is sufficient, but the actuation should be spaced at about 30-second to 1-minute intervals, and the inhaler should be shaken between each actuation. So shake the inhaler, put it in line, actuate it at the beginning of inhalation, take it away, shake it, wait 30 seconds to a minute, and give the next actuation. There have been, again, studies that have shown that if you actuate the meter dose inhaler multiple times into the spacer, the amount of delivered dose is decreased. So I think that's an important point, not only for our use in mechanical ventilation, but also our patients who use meter dose inhalers as part of their general care at home, is to only actuate the inhaler for 1 puff at a time into the spacer device.
Muchas gracias por su explicación, doctor.